Yeah, boy, it's September 3rd, and it's episode 88, and this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer. I'm your host, Uncle Buckets. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer is the official podcast of thefantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasyfootballauctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction. We've got a great show for you tonight. Tonight we're going to take a look at some player rankings heading into week 1 of the NFL regular season. We're also going to break down our big auction draft from Sunday. But of course, our experts, they're always here. And I wrote this, Slim, even before you told me about the lesson plan.
Wine.
He's frantically writing up lesson plans for the first week of school. Slim, how was the first day today?
It was busy. It was hectic, but survived. Long day. Spent some time at customs for an hour processing.
Oh, that's the worst, that football equipment coming over.
Yeah, actually, I saw Blister's wife drive through, and I'm sitting at the computer there trying to enter that data. She probably thought I was getting searched. I gave her a big wave. Like, hey.
She was coming from the mailbox, Blister. She wasn't going to tell you about it, though.
Yeah, she's been over there every day this week looking for school backpacks. They haven't come in yet.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she did say, I saw Slim, he was inside at customs. I said, oh no, he just had to get some football equipment. I said, he's got in trouble. So I think she was worried for you.
Yeah, I figured that. So I said, I went over to Farragher's after and said that, yeah, she saw me in there. She probably thought I was getting searched, got pulled in or something.
Well, it's 2 weeks in a row now. Blister's come in before I've introduced him, but I've led you to it, so I apologize for that. But I was going to say, okay. You're realizing today just how many leagues you're actually in, Blister. So you probably are super busy with all the lineups. Very busy. I've been kind of trying to keep on top of it. You know, in a couple leagues, I got Wes Welker, for example. Oh, he's going to play. His concussion looks to be, and then he's suspended. So then you go back and you start taking him back out of the lineup. And then, you know, I had a question with you guys tonight because the one league I got Bernard Pierce, and I'm not real excited about playing him. He would be my flex, but in that league we get a half point per carry as well. So I mean, if the guy gets 20 carries, I mean he's a guy, he's going to get the ball. They got a tough defense, but if he gets 20 carries and 4 catches, that's 14 points right there. So it's pretty hard not to play him based on that scoring. But that's the problem, right? Not only do you have all these different lineups, but then you have all the different scoring. You know, you're in PPR here, you're not. Wow.
And then there's this one that gets points per carry and all these other aspects. So it's not just a matter of looking at who you think is the best guy, because for one lineup he might be, and for another lineup he might not be. So yeah, I forgot about all that fun. I'm so excited though. So excited for the regular season to get
finally starting. We're
time.
gonna try to get on one more draft tomorrow night. Boston Pizza hosting a draft. We're gonna go there and see what we can do. I don't know if they've got things set up, but
flex a muscle.
Yeah, we'll represent the auctioneer out there.
Go crash the party and see what happens. Yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah. That sounds good. We can watch football while we're there. Draft. Right. That'll be good, because when Dougie Baldwin catches a touchdown from Russell Wilson, he might be one of the first receivers off the board, because I don't know what kind of crew we're playing against. So I have a feeling it might go like that.
Yeah, me too, which is great. Anyways, okay, well, we got lots of stuff. It's a big show tonight for week 1, guys. So if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. Which, by the way, Slim, I'm getting a lot of hashtags for.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, he loves that. He loves the hashtag cock the hammer, hashtag it's time for action. I show my wife that. She's like, really? People are hashtagging that? I'm like, hey, that's how it is, man. That's how it is. Remember, I put that on there on the very first pod, which we've taken off the air, and I just was trying to come up with segments. I didn't know what to do. I felt like such a loser saying cock the hammer and then playing.
That's the one we taped when we had the 2 tin cans and a piece of string between it and an old tape recorder.
Remember, and my voice would come out of one ear and you two would come out the other ear, and oh my God. And you thought we had technical difficulty tonight, Blister.
This is true. We did suffer through some tough times.
It was the worst. We had to restart. Oh, anyways. Thank you, Google Hangouts, I think. Anyways. Let's roll into the first segment, guys. Let's take a look at segment number 1. I think it's an official title for this season. We just got a letter. So, and we just got a letter. Thanks to Blues Clues, we're going to talk about some Twitter questions or email questions, and right now we're talking lineup questions the way it looks. So, I thought we only had 1 coming in, and then all of a sudden, boom, we've got 4 in now, right, Slim? Just while we're waiting to get on the air.
That's right.
All right, good. So let's go first one, and I'll start with you, Slim. We'll just alternate. Question number 1 from Jared Hines at Senior Hines. He's got a flex PPR question. Cotry, Hunter, or Ridley?
In a PPR, I'll go Hunter. I mean, Ridley might get a few more touches, but in a PPR, even if Hunter catches 5-6 passes, I think he's got the potential to do a lot more with them. So I'll take those 5-6 points right off the bat.
All right, and hopefully some yaks and whatever else after that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Blister, let's go to you. Question number 2 at Jay Gibson 314 is asking also a flex and a PPR. Cook or Watson?
Like Brandon Cooks?
I don't know. It just says Cook, so I'm going to guess Brandon Cooks.
Probably.
You wrote it down.
Let me check the tweet quick, just a sec. That probably is Cooks. Yeah, Cooks or Watkins.
Well, I'd go Cooks on this one all day. I think it could be a high-scoring game, New Orleans, Atlanta. I think with the New Orleans situation, Stills is still injured. I mean, I can't see Stills, even if he plays, making a big impact because he really hasn't been able to do much all. Watkins is also coming off an injury, and I just don't like his E.J. Manuel play right now. So I think you got to go with Cooks. He's talented, and he's got a better quarterback throwing him the ball. So I'd definitely go that way.
All right, Slim, coming to you for question number 3 at Falkbird, the regular listener and question asker. He asked Mark Ingram or Tavon Austin, PPR flex also.
I'm going to go with Ingram, even though I don't think he'll catch too many balls. I just don't think Tavon Austin will either necessarily. So, I mean, I'll go take my rushing yards and hope for the best.
All right. And finally, Blister. And actually, this might be an interesting question for both of you just because it's more strategic. Little Toots, Kiwi there at @little_Toots is planning on streaming tight ends this year. What are your thoughts of playing a tight end at that flex position, and how good does that tight end actually have to be? I guess if we assume it's PPR, I don't know, that might make a difference too. So Blister first.
Well, even if it was standard, I think you could consider it. I mean, there's a lot of tight ends that are going to have fairly good roles in their offense. If you look at flexing options this weekend, like a guy like, there's a lot of guys that I'm kind of steering clear of. Dennis Pitta is a great choice, but I think he's going to have a tough matchup this weekend. Kyle Rudolph, I think, is going to have a tough matchup. Now, if it was Jimmy Graham or Rob Gronkowski, you don't care. You're playing him, but this guy's Tooth is talking streaming, so that's not the case. He's going to be looking at Zach Ertz. He's going to be looking at, guys like that. I kind of like, Travis Kelce this week. I mean, I know he's still not number 1 on the depth chart, but they know what he can do. They don't have a lot of passing options. Dwayne Bowe will be out. So who are they going to pass the ball to? I mean, he's going to be a big guy. We know Alex Smith doesn't make the long throws a whole lot, so I think he's a great option. And if you're streaming, for sure, I guess I would probably look at, a typical lineup typically is about 10 starters, and if you can look at somebody that might be able to get you double-digit points, then that would be a great option. Now, like in every situation, like if you're streaming tight ends, you have to look at what are the other. Every scenario is different, but look at the defense they're playing against, and look at the quarterback situation. Look at how many other options are on the team. When there's just very few options, like Jordan Cameron this weekend might not be a streamer, but he's also there's a lot of guys with very tough matchups. I think this week for tight end, and I think as the season progresses, get a few weeks in, you're going to see some teams that don't defend the tight end as well, and that's going to help make your decision a lot easier. You can roll the dice with that guy, and go with the tight end. It's not playing against a team that doesn't defend well against the tight end. So that's something. There's just no data. I mean, you can look at last year's stats, but that's last year. Teams are different. Offensive coordinators are different. Defensive coordinators are different. So I think that you can't really base a whole lot on last year's stats. It's going to take a bit of time to play out. Just for the first 2 or 3 weeks, take the tight end who's in an offense that has a Ryan Fitzpatrick arm perhaps, or Alex Smith that doesn't have a ton of other options to throw to, and roll your dice with that going against if they're up against a weaker defense.
All right, Slim, what do you think? I'm looking at the question and I'm thinking he'd have to be streaming 2 tight ends. So is there even enough depth out there if you're in a 12-man to be able to pick up 2 guys off the waiver week by week?
To pick up 2 to start?
Well, yeah, like he'd be have to starting a tight end in general, and then he's looking at playing a tight end in the flex too. So I just think to myself, there's got to be a better wide receiver in a PPR that you could slot in at flex than way down the list. I mean, maybe there's an Antonio Gates or Ladarius Green, but you don't know what's going to happen at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he means like. I know in a few drafts I've got, say, like Zach Ertz and Charles Clay. And obviously I drafted them with the intention of streaming them. But, I mean, I'm not opposed to playing them as a flex.
But would you be? But would you start both of them in 1 week? That's not the intent.
No, it probably wasn't the intent. But, yeah, I am actually. When I have bad matchups, like even this week, I think I have Clay in as one of my flexes in a deeper league where I didn't come out with tons of wide receivers. I mean, if you're in a 12-person league with, say 10 bench spots even, depending on how your draft went, you might be kind of limited as far as the wide receivers go. I know Blister, that the Canadian draft we did, I know that was a 14-team league. My starters are okay, but after that, it was slim pickings for your bench. So I'm not too happy with any of my guys. I would start Charles Clay as a flex over that. And in that same draft, I mean, one guy went Graham, Gronk, and Julius Thomas with his first 3 picks. So I mean, he's obviously flexing. So
I'll take care of him this week.
The extreme. There you go. That's obviously the extreme, but no, I'm not opposed to flexing a tight end. I mean. Someone like Heath Miller, to me, he can be a good flex for you. I'm starting him as a flex this week in one pool. I think he's got a chance to catch 6 passes, 7 passes. So there you go. There's 6-7 points plus whatever he does on top of that. So to me, that's just as good as a lot of wide receivers that you're going to find, definitely on the waiver wire, but maybe even on your bench sitting there. So yeah, it's. To me, it's more about the matchups and not necessarily how good the player is. So,
right.
Yeah, you just got to look at that.
Okay. All right. So those are Twitter questions, and guys, we've got a ton of them. I just want to, just thank everybody for all the support in sending us questions all throughout the preseason here. It's been a lot busier this year than it was last year. I know Slim was working really hard. We talked about the carpal tunnel from texting, using his phone to answer all of the questions. But it's good stuff to see that so many people play an auction and having so many good quality questions as far as strategy goes, as far as budgeting goes, and we love seeing them all year. So we can keep them going all preseason, but we can keep them going all year. We can help you with lineup questions and waiver wire questions and those types of things too. You can hit us up at Fantasy Auction on Twitter or Instagram. You can email us at footballauctioneer@gmail.com. You can put comments on the website. We've been answering stuff there, or even on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Fantasy Football Auctioneer. So lots of ways to get a hold of us, and typically it's 2 or 3 of us answering the question, even at this high volume of stuff we've been getting. So thanks to everyone for that, and Blister and Slim, good job hitting everybody up on answers too.
Well, hopefully we helped.
Hopefully we helped. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I did hear from a couple of fans this week that sent us their lineups and kind of wanted us to grade their lineups. I did hear from them a couple of times about how much more prepared they felt this year, and the draft kit was that much more helpful for them this year. And so those are all good things as we move forward and take a look at potential things for next year. The idea of the app coming out, we're looking at maybe beta testing some of that over the over the regular season here, and if it's more premium service or better quality draft kits or whatever the case may be. I like the fact that guys felt more prepared because of what we were offering them. So that's right from questions all the way through to site content to the draft kit. So all that hard work now is moving us into the regular season, and so we've got fantasy football news we need to talk about, guys. So let's move into segment number 2, fantasy football buy or sell. So in the fantasy football buy or sell, we take a look at a couple of headlines, and we ask the guys if they're buying or selling, the implications of said headline. Blister, we'll start with you, and you already touched upon Bernard Pierce here, but he was a full participant in practice on Wednesday. So he was dealing with a concussion. He was cleared on Tuesday, and so he was able to get through Wednesday's practice. So that bodes well for him starting in week 1. So Blister, buy or sell with Ray Rice out. Bernard Pierce should be an RB2 this week.
Well, I'm a little hesitant to say a solid RB2 anyways. I might be more tempted to run him as a flex play. I just think because...
Please, buy or sell? Let's remember this.
I'm going to sell it. I'm
All right.
Be a little tougher on Bernard.
Okay.
Unfortunately, if you drafted him, you better use him now, because when Ray Rice comes back, I think Ray Rice will take that job over. But Bernard wasn't stellar last year. He hasn't been phenomenal in the preseason. He's coming off a concussion, and he's going up against the Cincinnati D. So I'm going to say maybe a flex, but definitely I'm selling him as an RB2.
As an RB2. There we go. Plan along, Blister. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, Slim, coming to you next. Rob Gronkowski was limited in practice on Wednesday, reported the Boston Herald. So though the Patriots haven't said so, Gronkowski is expected to play Sunday at Miami. He could, however, be on a snap count. So Slim, buying or selling that Gronk will start on week 1?
Buying. He's playing, I think. He sounds like he is in. It doesn't surprise me that the Patriots aren't saying anything. So Belichick, that's what he does. And yeah, he will be in a snap count, but I mean, his touchdown upside is too much that even if he's on the field for, say, 30 or 40% of the snaps, he's probably going to get the majority of looks in red zone situations, and his touchdown upside's too high. Even if he catches 3 passes, I mean, 2 of those could be for touchdowns potentially. So, yeah, you got to start him. All
right. No, well, and I think he's playing to it, and big surprise that Belichick isn't saying anything.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's really. Anyways, I went through a ton of stuff on the player news for the script tonight, and I don't know, I just pulled 3 that I thought were of, I guess, higher priority. So, Blister, we'll just go to the third and final on fantasy football buy or sell, fantasy football news buy or sell, I guess. Wes Welker, as you may, well, if you haven't heard, was suspended for 4 games for violating the league's performance enhancement policy. Sorry, easy for me to say. I read an article last night that it was ecstasy and amphetamines. So, and that he was just tossing $100 bills around at the Kentucky Derby, which seems, not that I know Wes Welker, but doesn't seem like it would be in his character for him just to be making it rain out there.
Our Instagram buddy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Our Instagram buddy. That's right. He did. He did like one of my posts last year. Oh, I'll have to get on that again.
He won big at the Kentucky Derby though. So.
Oh, did he?
You never know. Yeah, he
did.
Sounds like it.
You see him just running. Well, no, but I thought I read somewhere too that he got overpaid or something on the from the track that he won, and then that they overpaid him in his winnings, and so then he was just walking around throwing the money around, and I don't know. Anyways, it's a gong show no matter which way you look at it, Blister. So, Blister, buy or sell, just drop Wes Welker right now, especially if you've got a short bench.
I'll sell it. I mean, I just don't think that right now you need to go out and drop him, because I don't think there's going to be somebody out there that has his potential, his ceiling, that you're going to go and pick up. Maybe after week 1 or something, you see somebody that's really, a sleeper evolves, but you'd probably, some guys have drafted Marvin Jones still, and he's not available till early October either.
Right.
There's always guys like that. Ray Rice is going to miss a couple. Last year was Le'Veon Bell, Josh Gordon. I'd hold on to him. The suspension doesn't scare me as much as the head problems, and at least he'll have a few more weeks now to get healthy, totally healthy. But one knock on the head, and I'd probably drop him if that was the case, because I think if he gets another one, he'll be done for the year, maybe for good. So I would hold on to him for now. If there's some pressing need you really have to have out there, then by all means you could let him go. But I'll hold him for now.
Just shout out, guys. It's Wednesday night at 10 o'clock Central. Still selling draft kits. Boom, another one, just like that. So that's guys drafting tomorrow or this weekend, maybe in Vegas, looking to buy our kits. Anyways, I was pumped to see that 10 o'clock on Wednesday before the season opener. All right, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Wes Welker. It was interesting to read about. So, anyways, I like the rhythm we're going through, guys. We're already heading into segment 3, so that was fantasy football news, buy or sell. Let's move into segment 3. I don't have any. Maybe I'll find a soundbite here, and then this will sound like a kind of dumb for me to say I don't have anything. But segment number 3, guys, we want to take a look, and we've had some listeners and some fans trying to follow along. They want to take a look at the big auction from Sunday night. So we participated Sunday in our big auction, the 3 of us in there with our buddies, and what's really got us into getting interested in writing and potting and stuff about auction football is, I guess, so much fun the amount of fun that we have in this particular draft. So Slim is the commissioner of this particular league, and the draft had everything except for vomit, I think, but it had sleeping in a cab of a truck, it had huge bonfires, it had controversy, it had good eats, it had everything that you needed, and lots of cohibas too. Anyways, Slim, why don't you break down a little bit about how you thought the draft went, and just comments overall as the commissioner first before we get into the lineups.
No, I think it went really well. My biggest downfall or disappointment is that Bucks, you're not getting that Marcus Wheaton ass tattoo like you promised.
Oh, it was borderline domestic when I brought it up.
I think if you give me half an hour with your wife just to smooth things over, we could be good to go.
I'm not afraid of it. Let's put it, okay, so the controversy is I overbid, I don't have enough money, so we have to go to the Constitution and look through the rules, yada, yada. As payment for just the distraction, I was willing to get, who was it? Martavis Bryant?
Marcus Wheaton.
Marcus
Wheaton.
Yeah, Marcus Wheaton, who was the overbidded player, tattooed on, it's a family show, my kids might be listening, my hiney, and, sorry. And I brought it up to my wife because I thought, well, who's ever going to see it anyways, it's not going to be a big deal. And poop was lost, I think, when I brouot that up. So,
was it just yelling? Like, what was this? Well, I'm trying to picture my.
There was just a lot of. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's inappropriate. It's this. We're just not going to talk about it. So she was not impressed by.
Is there any appropriate ass tattoo?
Well,
I'm curious.
I don't know. So like a heart with mom. Like, what do you lips? What do you?
That's what I mean.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, I
think you should just do it. It's better to just. It's one of those things it's better to just ask for forgiveness and ask for permission, right?
Well, and I had booked the appointment, and they had contacted me back. They wanted a picture and the size so that they could see what was going to be getting done. And well, needless to say, we've put it on hold. So. Fantasy football is a big part of this house. I need to make sure that it can remain a big part of this house. So I don't know. We'll leave it at that. Anyways, Slim, continue on with the commissioner's summary, if you would.
That's about it, really. I mean, other than that, I thought it went quick. It seemed to run fairly smoothly, other than that one little hiccup there, because whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, well, it was a hiccup, and I still feel, and any of the guys in the league outside of you two, of course, still too. I did not want any controversy. Let it be known that I immediately said I'll forfeit the week or whatever the case may be. I just wanted a ruling on it. I was not trying to be belligerent about me breaking the rule or anything. I don't think, anyways. I thought I was trying to be okay on it, and I was just waiting for a ruling so I knew what I could do with the remaining couple of bucks that I had, and turned out that we just found a hole in the Constitution, Slim. Is that...
Well, no, not really. Zoob's bailed you out by just taking the player.
Taking the player. Well, I made sure I left the facility for a few minutes so that if people needed to talk while I wasn't around, then that was fine too. So, anyways, Blister, any comments about the draft overall before we start taking a look at rosters and dollar values and that type of thing?
No, again, Slim runs a great draft and C's a great host out there. I think it's just it's a fun day, something I think everyone was pretty excited about, and I sure was. And no, it was great. Slim always impresses me with his cooking skills too. He does a great job on that meal. Yeah, I think I should invite you over for Thanksgiving. You cook at my house. How's that?
Bring some dill beef and away you go.
Damn, anything. Yeah. So no, it was great. It was all kinds of fun. Yeah, I don't know. I look at my team and I remember back to some of the way things went, and I look at your team. You're right beside me in here, Bex. You got a lot of nice receivers. A depth of receiver. Wow.
I was pretty happy with my draft, I guess, overall. There was a lot of talk, of course, of me and my auction strategies, holding on to too much money for too long and that type of a thing, but I was okay with it because I thought I found value at a few different places, and that made things kind of okay. I don't know, I guess just segueing into how we drafted, my roster looks like this. Of course, I have one quarterback. It's Nick Foles. Slim, you have the dollar values in front of you, right? I get everything all mixed up. Do you have it there you can run through?
Yep. Yours?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you drafted Foles for $3, AP for 56, Frank Gore for 9, Jordy Nelson for 47, Michael Floyd 19, Golden Tate 15, Heath Miller for 2, Jared Boykin for $1, it's your Cincinnati defense, and Greg Zuerlein each for $1, Sankey for 12, Terrence Williams for 8, Aaron Dobson for 4, Fred Jackson for 7, Kenny Stills for 8, Andrew Hawkins for 4, and Andre Holmes for $1.
All right, so I went in with the game plan of anchoring my team with a top-tier running back and a top-tier receiver. I was not looking to, I guess, purchase anybody in that first round because typically things are a little bit inflated, but I went in on Adrian Peterson at around the $50 mark just to kind of show some interest, and it ended up that at $56 I could get him. I was more than happy to take him at $56. We've seen him go for 60 and then some. He has potential to be an RB1 this year. I'm happy at $56. As far as the wide receivers go, the top tier guys I kind of sat on. I put a bid in. I was looking to spend about $50, and I put a couple bids in around that. It was high 40s, but saw that Jordy Nelson was going to be around. I don't know that I love 47 for him, but I'm okay with that price. And what else? At the running back position, I thought Frank Gore for $9 was a deal, and it allowed me to pick up some value elsewhere. The Bishop Sankey one, I guess, is the one I was kind of disappointed on. I just threw in a $12 bid thinking that it was going to run up a little bit more. I thought the room would be a little bit higher on them, and they weren't, and then kind of put me in a holding pattern for a little bit. And I liked my Michael Floyd at $19 too. I thought that was good value there. So that's a little breakdown of my team. Any comments about the team, guys?
Well, I think first of all, Frank Gore is going to be your highest point getter this week. I think he's going to trash the Cowboys. But I think you got a nice squad. You got AP and Frank Gore. Hopefully, eventually, you might have a third RB1 if Bishop Sankey eventually.
I enjoy the Fred Jackson, to be honest with you.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with Freddie Jackson. Yeah, I know Slim wanted him, but then you look at your receivers. You got Jared Boykin was the last guy you took in the draft. I didn't think you were going to nominate him because I had him on my radar. I would have been quite a bit happier to have him. But I mean, Dobson, you got potential there. Floyd should have a good year. Hawkins could be a PPR monster right there in Cleveland. They'll have a lot of options. Andre Holmes was getting a lot of hype earlier in camp. I mean, it's just a matter of time before he comes along. With Carr at quarterback, hopefully all that receiving group will look a lot better. There's been some good comments out of the camp. James Jones said he reminds him of Aaron Rodgers, so that's pretty good compliment.
It's not bad.
Obviously, Jordy. I mean, your receiving core looks like about 90% of my drafts between Tate, Stills, Nelson, Hawkins, Boykin. Those guys are on a lot of my teams. So you have tons of depth. That's kind of something I was hoping to go for in a PPR. I was thinking I would rather have more depth at PPR and play better matchups than be worried about the running back situation. But didn't quite work out for me in that regard.
No, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the team. I'm a lot happier this year than I was last year with my squad. Even though last year's squad ends up winning it all, but the draft is only the first part of all of that. But so some want to go through your team quickly and let guys know who you have, and do you have your dollar values in front of you?
Yeah, I do. So I got Peyton Manning for $34. Everybody, what the heck? Monty Ball 49, Shane Vereen 20, AJ Green 47, Eric Decker 13, Reggie Wayne 9, Zach Ertz 6, Ruben Randall for 3. Along with the Jets, D for $1 and Nick Novak for $1. Lance Dunbar for 4, Kyrie Robinson 3, Eifert for $1, Trey Mason $1, CJ Anderson $1, Cody Latimer $4, and Jerick McKinnon 2. So,
how'd you feel after that? I mean, the Peyton Manning thing was a bit controversial. Well, not controversial, but raised a lot of eyebrows during the draft.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about it the night before the draft going in, I figured quarterbacks were going to be super undervalued in our draft. So what I did is I made a budget where I would spend $30 on a quarterback. And I only did that because I knew that I was going to bid on the top quarterbacks because I wasn't going to let somebody get them for, say, $20. So I knew by doing that there was a chance I was going to get stuck with one of them. So that's why I made the budget, just because I knew that, hey, if I get this guy, then I got to be able to switch gears right now. And, I wasn't sad, I'll say, about getting Peyton Manning. If you're going to get stuck with a guy,
that's not a bad guy.
You might as well get the best one at the position. It's like getting stuck with Jimmy Graham, right? You're not going to be necessarily that sad about it. He was sitting there at 30, and I thought about stopping. And it was one of those knowing your draft rooms. And the guy beside me at the time had Peyton Manning last year, probably should have won the pool. And I thought, you know what, he really is going to want him. So I kept trying to upbid him. And I was doing it with the sense of, you know what, if I get him, I'm not that depressed about it either. So, I was doing it to get him to bid, but at the same time, I was doing it to actually almost win it, if that makes any sense, even though I didn't really want a high-priced quarterback.
Right.
I went to 34, and he decided to pull the pin. I think he kind of knew what was going on, obviously.
Yeah.
So he just said, you know what, you can take him, and I'll move on. And I think he bought Aaron Rodgers or something fairly shortly after. So that totally changed my draft, and I got AJ Green early for $47. I wanted, in a PPR league, I wanted a stud receiver. It turned out I thought that was a good price, considering there was a lot of receivers that went for higher than that. Monte Ball, I got him fairly early as well. $49. The reason, typically that's a little more than I'd spend on Ball, but the way things were going and just the way I thought the draft would go, I figured there would be a lot of running backs going for over $50.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, now's a good chance to get one, and maybe it'll even be a little bit of a value.
Right.
I think that the draft went a different way. I think the receivers ended up getting, especially the elite guys, the top few tiers of guys, they went for maybe a little more than they typically do, and the running backs maybe didn't. But I'm not disappointed with getting Ball. A little more than I wanted to pay, but that's okay. But the Manning thing kind of changed things, and this is where I really had to skimp at the receiver position. Typically, Bex, I'm like you. In a PPR, I like to load up at receiver. It didn't allow me to do that, and even the running back, I needed a good RB2 PPR. I got Vereen for 20. It's more than I think he goes for, but I think can easily be a mid-level RB2 if he's to stay healthy this year. So I don't mind spending around $20 on him, even though he typically goes for less than that. And the Decker is a receiver too. I feel like I got a whole bunch of wide receiver 3s, and now I'm going to have to try and hope that one of them, at least every given week, and maybe someone breaks out and surprises a little bit, but hopefully they emerge as a wide receiver 2 on a somewhat weekly basis. And I like Decker as a as something like that.
Yeah,
he's the number 1 there. Reggie Wayne. A lot of guys are scared off by him, but I think he's kind of one of the only guys that has chemistry with Luck and is a reliable receiver. I mean, Hilton is more dynamic, no doubt, but if you are looking at just straight targets, to me, Reggie Wayne is the guy to have in this offense. And I mean, my bench was thin. I knew it was going to be because I was going to spend some bigger money on starters. So I like Latimer, especially now that Welker's out. I think he's going to be good in the red zone for them, and I'm expecting bigger things, maybe more so at the end of the year. That was the kind of the thought process behind that. And Ertz, I mean, I've been high on Ertz all year. You were joking with me at the draft when I got him.
You were bouncing out of your chair, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got some upside. And, other than Michael Floyd, which I didn't have any money left. You got him for a good price.
I thought 19 was a good.
Jackson. Yeah. I couldn't bid on any of these guys that you had. I was trying to get you to spend your money because I knew that you were saving it for these kinds of guys, and I couldn't get you to spend it. And conversely, I couldn't get those guys that I really wanted. But whatever, I'll have to live with it.
All right, Blister, any feedback on Slim's team?
Well, I know. Like you said, he got the best quarterback in the league for probably as much as even $20 cheaper than he goes for in some auctions. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I obviously like Monty Ball. I think Lance Dunbar in a PPR league could be very productive for him. This week he's probably got a good matchup with San Fran because I think it's going to be a shootout, and DeMarco's not going to play every down. And I think Dunbar, there's a good chance that could evolve into a number 1 at some point if DeMarco does have his health issues or not. Obviously, Vereen's nice. I think the same thing with Slim. Him and I didn't get as many receivers as we would have liked, but that's just the way things unfolded. But I mean, he's got a few beauties there, and perfect thinking with Cody Latimer. I mean, now he might have more options sooner than later now that Wes Welker's out, but he definitely probably would have developed into something by the maybe just in time for playoffs to be really a big contributor. So, I mean, if he found somebody juicy on the waiver wire, it'd probably be, he's got a couple guys like Eifert, you might not need him. He'd be an easy guy to dump if you had to, or a running back, you got lots, but there's probably not a ton on our waiver wire right now anyways. But no, it looks pretty solid. I mean, anytime you're going up against Peyton Manning could put up 50 points this week himself. Yeah. So, that's it's a tough thing to overcome for sure.
So, Slim, do you have blisters there with the values?
Shoot, I did. Just give me 1 sec. Let me shuffle my papers here and find it.
After the Le'Veon Bell. Oh. Which is who Blister picked up, yeah.
All right.
So, all right, Blister went Cutler 6, Le'Veon Bell 35, Rashad Jennings 19, Wes Welker 9, Pierre Garçon 31, Antonio Brown 37, Gronk 31, Colston 12, Pats D $1, Goskowski for $1, Pierre Thomas 8, Bernard Pierce 3, Russell Wilson for 2, Ahmad Bradshaw $2, Harry Douglas $1, Andre Caldwell $1, and Travis Kelce $1.
All right, Blister, talk to us about your team.
Well, I'll start with Rob Gronkowski. I did not, I don't have a high price tight end, on any team except for this one, and my thinking was he'd probably be worth around $30. I think Jimmy Graham had already been off the board, so I wanted to try to get him out there early. Because I thought, people might not go as high knowing that Julius Thomas is still out there, one of the big three. And B, I wanted to know that if I can afford him or not. Because if I couldn't afford him, I sit around 30. Of course, I'm not going to stop right on 30. I'll go one more buck or two and see what happens. And if I get him, great, I got him. And that means that, I mean, if he produces like he potentially can produce, he can be one of the best receiving options in the whole league. You know, he was a couple years ago. So I don't mind paying that because you'd pay a lot more than that for a top-end wide receiver. And then my other frame of mind was if I don't get him, then I got $30 more I can pour into my running back or my wide receiving core. So I got him early, one of my earlier buys, and at 31. I really wanted to get a higher named wide receiver one, Demaryius Thomas or Julio Jones. I couldn't believe how high Julio went because usually he's around 40. I think he went for up in the 50 range.
Right around 50, I think,
Yeah, Brandon Marshall. You know, one of the top 6, Dez, somebody in that top 6. I mean, nothing wrong with Antonio Brown. He was number 3, I think, last year in PPR or 2. Something. He did have a hell of a year, and I think he's going to be used a lot in the offense again. Potentially could be there. But I was in the bidding for him, and then I mean, I got him for 37. I thought it was early on. There was still a lot of big names out there. I thought he would get up into the mid 40s or something, maybe potentially, and then I would probably be back out knowing that I'd rather try that on Julio Jones or something. So I ended up getting him. Of course, a little bit later, Pierre Garçon comes up. I bid on him. I'm thinking he's, you know, I'm trying to bid him up a bit. I'm thinking perhaps Zoobs would want him this time, but I ended up getting him for 31. So I didn't think that was a terrible price either. I know some auctions you might see him go in the mid-20s, but for the most part, most of the ones I've been in with more than just robots, he gets into the 30s all the time. Jay Cutler came up, a Bears fan, thought he might go a little higher. I mean, I was looks for Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, somebody in there if I could get them. So Jay Cutler, I mean, I think he should be in line for a good year with all the weapons he has. I got him for 6. So down the road, I with Jay Cutler, with Tom Brady or somebody else, Matt Ryan, you know how I feel about Jay Cutler. I think he's in line for a good year. Not 100 real confident in him. Not like a lot of the experts until I see it. And so Russell Wilson was nominated later for a buck. I went 2, and that was the end of it. So I like the way Russell's been playing in the preseason. Now I do have a bit of a streaming option if I want to bounce them back and forth. I can really never let them go unless they get injured. I can't release a guy like one of those 2 guys with that talent level, and watch somebody pick him up off waivers and beat me with them. So they'll be on my team to the end. Then I needed a running back too. Le'Veon Bell. First of all, I need a running back 1. He came up. He was actually I'm kind of colorblind, so I made up a nice. I took my tiers.
Kind of.
I highlighted in green the guys I kind of really wanted, and the guys in red that I was going to try to stay away from, and then guys that I had kind of mixed emotions on. I just left them in the white or gray. So Le'Veon Bell was in red. I'm pretty sure he was red, and the next thing you know, he's on my team. I thought he would get into the 40s. I was just again kind of trying to bid him up, and similar to Slim. If I got stuck with him, I think not the end of the world. I mean, he's in Pittsburgh. They're going to use him a lot. He's going to be the guy that catches the passes out of the backfield. So in a PPR, that's a good option, right? So I ended up getting him for, what was it, Slim? 37? 38?
Yeah, 35.
35 only. Holy man. So I had a lot of mid-30 guys that I was kind of surprised. So not sad with that. But then down the road, I needed an RB2, and they were really running thin, and I was in a bidding war with you, Bex. And again, a guy like Rashad Jennings, not super high on, but it's a PPR. We know Andre Williams can't really catch, so if Rashad can stay healthy, he's going to be the guy that catches the ball out of the backfield. Should see a lot of time. Has had a great camp. Looks really good. So those are my 1 and 2. I did draft Bernard Pierce. I don't even remember that part of the draft, but don't think I'm playing him this week. Pierre Thomas I grabbed later on. I still think he could catch 70 balls. Ahmad Bradshaw, one T. Rich stumbles. If Ahmad gets a chance, maybe, but Dan Heron might just come out of nowhere and take it all. Anyways, so yeah, that's my running backs. Another guy that I had in red that I did not want to take was Wes Welker. With the concussion problems. He's on the team now. He got him for $9. I thought that was pretty cheap. I thought I could at least get him into the mid-teens where I could bail out at that point. And so I was kind of happy about it for a day, and then I was sad because he was concussed. He was coming back. Then he wasn't coming. He was suspended. Now I'm a little disappointed. But again, I don't think I can drop him. And it was getting near the end of the draft. I was having a hard time. I could only get a die for $1, and there's half a dozen, 4 or 5 people left, and so if I bid on, if I could only, I had to nominate somebody I want. I didn't want to nominate garbage, but at the same point, if anybody liked them, they were going to go too. So I nominated Travis Kelce from Kansas City. I thought, well, he's a potential guy that could be huge. He could be nothing, but he could be huge. So I'm sure people have heard his name. I'm probably not going to get him, but that's one less guy, and I'm slowly getting somebody else's roster filled up, but nobody else bid on him, so I got him. So as far as kicker, and I mean, I went with my New England Patriots. What I typically did, I was happy to get them all for $1. Our draft is pretty savvy. The auctioneers, the guys are pretty good, and you throw out a defense, with the exception, the only one that went for more than $1, I think, was Seattle, and they went for $3, which was a good deal compared to what I've seen them going for some other auctions. But after I spent some money, I'd kind of slow my spending down by throwing out the kicker or the defense early on. And it's kind of, obviously Gostkowski's always one of the top kickers. New England, I think, is going to be in for a good year, fantasy-wise. So to be able to get them, it makes you feel a little bit better about your team when you get to the bottom, and you still got a couple players that you kind of, or positions that you have to fill, that you're kind of happy that you fill them with the guys you'd like to have on your squad. So all in all, looks all right.
So, you got anything? Any comments about Blister's roster there?
I actually don't mind it. I mean, Garcon and Brown. I mean, that's no surprise if you ever draft with Blister.
Yeah,
he's
we made the joke in the draft. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I don't know. Like Gronk, I wasn't necessarily expecting that, but not shocked there either. I mean. I think the key is, we talked about it. Talked about it with Blister after the draft. Is if you want one of those tight ends, to me, you gotta do it early, because you gotta know you can't sit around and wait, 4 or 5 rounds for them to get nominated, because it totally changes your budget if you take one of them. So you want it.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, you got to get them early and know at least, okay, do I get them? What am I going to do? And if you don't, then you can move money around and where you can put it to do different things. And, so he got them early, and I think that kind of set him in a direction. And, I necessarily don't mind. Like, to me, getting Kelce at the end was awesome. Ahmad Bradshaw for $2. I really like that. Even Pierre Thomas, I don't mind that at all either. So, I think on the whole, I mean, yeah, he touched on it. I think maybe his wide receiver depth isn't where he'd like it to be, but I mean, all it takes is you to find one guy on waivers, and guess what? When Wes Welker comes back, Colston, I think, will be a solid guy, and then he's got 5, really serviceable players there, so it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, I like his team quite a bit, actually.
There you go. So, anything else, Slim? Because I know you have the numbers in front of you that were surprises or deals that you saw as far as auction values went.
Marshawn Lynch went for $34. I remember. I was kicking myself. I didn't have money to bid on him at that point. Other than that, I can't think of anything. I don't know about you guys, if you can. Anything that really jumped out as far as values. Like I said, I remember thinking after I took Green for 47, I think I commented to you, Bex, because we were sitting pretty close together. There was a lot of guys. Like Des Bryant went for over 50. You even took Jordy Nelson for 47 as well. I mean, there was a lot of receivers that went higher than I would have thought they would have went. Julio Jones went for over 50 when I, typically see him go for in the low 40s. So, it made me happy that I took one of those receivers early. And actually, the guy sitting to my direct left, he took Calvin Johnson even earlier. I think he got him for $50, 49 maybe. And, that turned out to be a steal too. I mean, if Julio Jones is going for more than Calvin Johnson, or Des Bryant is going for more than Calvin Johnson, I think you could feel pretty good about the price you got him at. So,
yeah. I was going to say that's where I got stuck with Jordy Nelson, because I wanted, a top 10 guy, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there with money, and you're right. I thought some of the wide receiver value or dollar values were a little high. I thought, well, okay, then I'm going to find something in those top 2 tiers is going to come in at value, and it just didn't. So then I'm like, well, I'm going to need someone here. So
you got to get a guy eventually, right?
Yeah. So I spent more than I wanted, and that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that I did in this draft was spend a little bit in some of those positions where typically I don't. And maybe we talked about on the pod before where, knowing your draft room, and I think guys know me for that. So getting AP right off the bat, I mean, it shook up the room there a little bit for a while because it was like, whoa, he's already on the board. He's already spent big bucks. And then, of course, I sat on him for forever. But that's just kind of how it went. So I was looking for that as well in the draft, of just trying to do a couple of things different and not necessarily go high in one position, which is typically kind of what I like to do too, like lots of high-end running backs. I wanted to anchor both those positions this year and just kind of see what that felt like. So. So anyway, so that was a quick little recap of our draft, and I mean, it was a good time. It went pretty fast. The first few rounds were going really well. Auctioneer did a great job again of keeping us on track and allotting the right amount of time, usually for the right player too. You know what I mean? Well, sometimes he'd kind of be like, okay, Lamar Miller going once, and then he'd pause and be like, come on, it's just Lamar Miller, let's go, or whatever. But for the most part, got things moving. I think if I remember correctly, I think he sat on Sean Green for a long time, and like McCluster or somebody, and it was like, come on.
Isn't that the worst when you're the guy bidding and you have the bid and you're just like, please, just move. I don't want anyone to come over the top here. Especially when you got a little value there or something, you're kind of like, but you don't want to make it look like you're too antsy to get it moving, because then somebody's like, oh man, I'm definitely getting him. He likes him a lot. Oh, I'm gonna bid him up for, you're trying to. It's like that poker when you wake up with a huge hand and you see somebody kind of raise big in front of you, and you're thinking, oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna just pop you all in here now, and you're just excited. Come on, get to me, hurry up. But yeah.
Well, and the other thing that he was doing too was when one side of the room kind of had some sidebar conversation going on later on in the draft, he would just talk to one side of the room, and I'm like, whoa, like, let's include everybody here and whatever. But that's fine. And I will be honest, it's the first time I've gone into this draft as a champ. I was nervous coming in for that regards, and I wasn't afraid to let the chirpers know that that was one thing that was out of my norm. I think when I had a couple guys chirping me about picks or whatever the case may be, I just, how'd you do last year? And kind of shut guys down that way, because not very many guys could say that they've won it. So even if I crap the bed this year and don't make the playoffs, it doesn't matter.
You still got a belt.
That is right.
I have trophies in now too, by the way. I was actually going to drop it off at your office, but I thought,
how that might look in the first week you're bringing in the fantasy football trophy.
Yeah, no, I just thought better of it knowing who your boss was.
Yeah. Also, speaking of fantasy football trophies and those types of things, the league starts tonight. I hope you guys PVR'd that while we're...
Well, you got American Dish. Do we get it on our channels?
I have no idea.
No.
Oh, sorry. So, I mean, I'm in the States. That's why I get an American Dish.
I watched it online.
Will it be on Netflix soon or no?
That's a good question.
Probably not the new season.
You guys can come over and watch it.
Even my wife likes that show, so.
Yeah, I know. I got you guys onto that one. It's good.
Man, my wife hates it, man.
Really?
When I'm watching it, she's like, "This is the stupidest thing ever. I can't believe you find it entertaining."
I will admit, though, that it was hard to compete with season 1.
Yeah. Oh no! Like, as the seasons have gone, I think there's only so much you can, go over. It's so they have kind of got like a little crazier, we'll say.
Yeah.
And maybe not as much about fantasy football all the time, but
yes. And I like it needs to be more football, so hopefully they focus a little bit more on that coming into this year. All right, so enough of that, guys. We're doing pretty good here still. I want to talk about some week 1 player rankings and and whatnot. So let's move into segment 4 here, where we'll take a look. I don't know. I forget. I'm an amateur podcaster. I should have all this scripted, what we called it last year, but we'll come up with something.
This is the man?
Is it This is the Mat? No.
That's the one where we have our contest.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Remember, you pick
I dropped
players.
the ball. Well, we'll start week 2. Yeah. Maybe I could still get something going.
I'll give you guys one right now because I'm just looking at some things. Who would you start as a flex? Bernard Pierce, Pierre Thomas, or Travis Kelce in a PPR?
I would start Pierre Thomas.
Thomas and Pierce? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pierce this week, I like his volume.
That's it. More touches.
Yeah. More guaranteed touches, hey?
Yeah. All right, so yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll get you guys to talk about some of your stuff, and I will set up some of this. The man. Oh yeah.
No, you don't have to.
I don't know. Well, maybe we'll start next week because we just won't have the time.
Yeah.
It'll be a 2-hour pod here. Yeah, we'll do that next week. So we did the breakdown of this too.
That's good.
You got to get up and do the gamma tomorrow.
No, I'm working my way back through alpha. That's wicked.
Char was telling me she couldn't. It's impossible to move your feet that fast.
I have a hard time just once I learn what the move is, I was watching it, they change it and it's over and you got to learn a whole other move. Like I said, I'm going to have to watch it in slow motion. It'll take me the 25 minutes, it'll take me 50 to get done just so I can keep up with what they're doing. Holy, 1 minute they're standing up, 1 minute they're on the floor, 1 minute they seem like they're balancing on one wrist and then I don't know, I'm going to be like a gymnast when I'm done. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Go bananas.
I'll be doing the pep rally all by myself.
All right, so let's go through some player rankings, guys. I thought first it might be interesting to talk a little bit about fantasy sports for you and some of the matchup or lineup stuff that they have going on there. So again, head on through our site, click the banner to Fantasy Sports for You, or go to their website and click on our banner to go back through them. If you come through our link, you'll get yourself a 100% match on your first deposit of up to $50, and it's actual $50 or an actual match. You can play all that money in your first week. So if you're a little skeptical on playing some dailies, and if you look at any of the big sites out there right now, they're all pushing or big fantasy football sites, they're pushing the big daily sites. Come over to a smaller one, take a look at playing some smaller competition. There really isn't a whale except for Blister on the site, and just drop $10. I mean, it's $10. It turns into 20. You could play all 20 this week if you wanted to. You could nickel and dime. They had some $3 pools I saw Blister this time around too, so you could get through half your season on a $10 deposit. It's fantasysports4u.com, the number 4 and the letter U, or head on over to our website, thefantasyfootballauction.com. Click on any of the Fantasy Sports for You banners along the website, and you can get over there and get your free match. So first thing I guess I just want to say, they're closing up that Survivor Challenge, right, Blister? You want to talk quickly about the Survivor Challenge?
Yeah, the Survivor Challenge is pretty
tonight,
cool.
So.
Yeah, I entered again. I got 3 in there now. So you can enter as many as you want. It's $10 to get in. The prize pool was going to be minimum $200, but it's going to be more than that because I think there's about 40 people.
Yeah, there's
40 in there now.
Tonight, yeah.
So you only have to draft. There's no roster requirements. You just draft a quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, and a kicker. And those 5 guys have got to combine for 50 fantasy points. Keep in mind, touchdowns are worth 7. Passing touchdowns are worth 5, but all others are worth 7. So they got to combine for 50.
PPR.
It's a PPR. If you don't make 50, your team's eliminated. Last man standing wins. Now I don't know if this year it's just one prize winner take all, or if it's going to be first, second, third. It's hard to say. I think it's one prize winner take all though. But yeah, you go in there. It's a great challenge. Next week when you go in, the kicker is you can only use everybody once. So if you use Peyton Manning this week, he won't be available to you next week. So you have to, it's one of those strategies where you might think you've done everything right. You picked every player who has the best matchup, but all of a sudden anything can happen, right? You get a snowstorm somewhere. I remember last year Philadelphia and Detroit. I think that cost me the playoffs. I think that cost me the semis or the quarters or something along that line where I had Stafford starting and I could have started somebody else, but he had a great matchup. and then the snowstorm, and I just about cried. It was terrible. Anyway, so that's that. It was awful, though. You got to keep an eye on that. There's apps out there, too, NFL weather apps. There's no excuse not to know the weather now anyway. Right. But going to that, plus all the other daily games, like they'll have heads-up games. You can play heads-up with somebody for $2, $5, $10, $20, or whatever. You can play 50-50 leagues where 4 people in, top 2 people get paid. Same kind of prize buy-ins. So you can 50-50 leagues with 6 people. There's 3-person leagues. Again, all the prizes pretty much go from 2 to the buy-ins go from 2 to 20. No huge ones, but I mean, like we were talking about it before, if you want to slowly nickel and dime and just kind of be in the game every week, it's a fun way to do it. I mean, you make one lineup. If you enter another league, it's the quick drop down. You can select your lineup from another league and enter it fairly quickly there. So. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. We did have 3 people sign up since we potted last week, I think, which is not huge, but they all just entered the free roll this week, so they're getting they're sticking their toe in. But remember, if you're going to join up through the site, make a deposit. They match it now. There's no other site that does that. You put in $50, $20, whatever, they give you another 20 right now, so you can play it now. It's not like Becca's mentioned many times.
4%.
And it slowly trickles in, and I've played on those sites before too, and I've never got my bonus out of them, like maybe 25 cents or something, but not what I put in. So it's a great place to play. Come and play me. Doug always has a leaderboard challenge on there as well. I don't know if he's going to throw prize money on it. Like if you notice, if you look on there, when you go on the website, they got a leaderboard challenge, and you can look up the baseball and hockey and basketball and all the other ones. You'll see my name on a few of them. I never play enough. Like guys that are at the top play a lot, but I don't ever play enough to challenge for first, but I usually top 4. Anyways, that's my goal this year. Maybe I'll play enough this time to take over that leaderboard. Hopefully I'll throw some good coin on it. Doug, if you're listening, throw some big bucks on that leaderboard challenge.
All right.
Yeah, see you there.
Anyways, so the ties into player rankings, and that's why I wanted to go there. So anyways, let's take a quick look at quarterbacks, guys. We're pushing the hour mark here, so I want to make sure we get through this. You guys both have Peyton at 1 and Drew Brees at 2. Then it starts to change. Slim, you have Andrew Luck at 3, and Blister, you have Tom Brady at 3. So, Slim, what are you thinking about a Luck at 3? I want to do a defend your ranking, if that's okay. Let's just talk about it.
Well, I'm thinking the Colts are going to put up 50 points, if the Broncos are putting up 50 points, then Indy's going to have to open up the floodgates a little bit, and Andrew Luck's going to have to throw the ball a lot.
All right. So, Blister, you have Tom Brady at 3. So, why so high on Brady?
Because he's playing for the Patriots. That's all. I think Luck is probably going to have a big game too. He's going to have to. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think the over/under is projected at 55 points, so there's going to be some points scored in Denver. I just think that Brady going into to Miami. Miami's kind of in rough shape. Both sides of the ball with injuries, suspensions, and whatnot. I think they're going in first game. They're going to be ready for this first game, and hopefully have Gronk at his disposal. Have a whole healthy lineup of people to pass to, and I think he might go out there and just kind of pick them apart. So I just see him putting up some big numbers this week.
All right, and we've got a little flip flops here at 4. Blister, you've got Cutler at 4, and Slim, you have Stafford at 4. Any comments on Stafford at 4, Slim?
No, I just think Calvin Johnson's going to have a huge game, so that means Stafford has a big game, and as far as Cutler goes, I think the Bears, the problem is they're going to roll. It's going to be a lot of Matt Forte and a lot of the run game, and not quite as much Cutler as needed, maybe.
All right. So, Blister, with Cutler at 4, what are you thinking there?
Oh, I just think the Bears' defense took some bad hits, losing Kiko Alonso and a few other key players this past month or so, and I think they're not as the Bills' defense. I said the Bears. The Bears' defense is not great either, but Bills took some hits. So I think they're going to go out and air it out and I think they're gonna. I mean, he might dump the ball off to Forte, but it could be a little shovel pass or a little pass, and he could be running 60 yards for the touchdown. Get some cheap fantasy points for Jay that way. But I just think that they're gonna put up some good numbers this week too, at home opener, and the Bills I think are gonna come in with a pretty crappy offense. They could even just get really good field position half the time from getting the ball turned over from EJ and company.
All right. This is probably the most discrepancies I've seen of you guys, especially at the quarterback position, coming into week 1 here. At 5, Blister, you have Colin Kaepernick, and Slim has Nick Foles at 5, which differs greatly from Blister, who has him at 10. Talk to us about Foles, Slim.
Well, I'm fairly high on the Eagles this year, playing against Jacksonville. The one thing that does scare me is that, I'm one thing I think Jacksonville can do is get after the quarterback, and the Eagles' offensive line maybe isn't the best, but I just think that Chip Kelly is just going to throw. And this ragtag kind of receiving core that they've got now in Philly should be busy, and I think Foles can, very similar to what Blister was maybe saying with Chicago. I can see, McCoy having a big day, and maybe with a few short little screen passes, things like that. I just feel like Foles, it's just the way their offense is. They will run the ball quite a bit too. But I think that they're going to do the bulk of their damage through the air against the Jaguars' defense.
Okay, so Blister, you're thinking a little bit differently about Foles. You have him down at 10, so a low QB1. Talk to us about Foles.
A little worried about that. That Jags defense was a surprisingly better defense so far in preseason from what we've seen than what we expected. And like I said, just like Slim said, I think they might get after him a bit. And I just worry he might throw it a lot. I'm a little worried who's going to catch it a lot. I don't know. Like, I like Ertz too. I just don't know if he can be their leading receiver. Jordan Matthews potentially could. Jeremy Maclin, if he's healthy enough to play a whole game, that'll be a good start for him. So I'm a little worried with that. And the base of that defense coming out ready to play. I mean, I think Jacksonville in many cases is going to go in as an underdog with nothing to lose. All year long they're kind of rebuilding. They got such a beat up offense, and I think probably most people aren't going to give them too much credit for going in and being competitive. So I think they're going to play with that, careless attitude and go get it. And so that worries me a little bit for Nick Foles. And versus Cap, I mean, I think the Cowboys' defense is pitiful, and he, I could see him throwing 3 touchdowns, running another 1 or so in. Frank Gore pounding 2 or 3, and I think it's going to be some big points scored there. I don't know I think they're going to do a lot of work on the ground, but I think he's going to make enough throws to, it might not be a lot of yards, but it might be some touchdown passes. So I think Cap's in for a good game. I mean, they haven't been wonderful, but the preseason often doesn't mean a whole lot either. So. Yeah,
all right,
that's
and
my thinking.
just to round it out so we can go to a different football position here. Let's take a look. Slim has Kaepernick at 6. Blister, you have Luck at 6. At number 7, take a look, Matt Ryan for Slim. Blister, you have Tony Romo at 7. At 8, we already talked about it, Jay Cutler for Slim. Blister has Matthew Stafford. 9, both of you have Russell Wilson. At 10, Aaron Rodgers comes in at 10 for Slim, and Nick Foles comes in at 10 for Blister. At 11, Tony Romo for Slim and Aaron Rodgers for Blister. And to round out the top 12, your QB1s, Slim has Tom Brady at 12, and Blister has RG3 at 12. Slim, you have RG3 as a mid QB2. Just want to quickly ask you about that.
Sure. Jadeveon Clowney's going to be up in his ass all day, and it's going to make life miserable. That's what I think. I think Houston's defense is going to they're going to get after Griffin, and he's looked uncomfortable in the pocket. And if it's one thing Houston can do, it's rush the passer with Watt and Clowney now. And I just think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him all day. It's going to force RG3 to make a lot of quick decisions, and he hasn't shown that he's able to do that quite yet. So I'm not going to put too many eggs in that basket this week.
All right. Just quickly looking at the running back position, guys. Slim, let's go. Wow, geez, I don't want to list off and rattle. You can go to our website, defensefootballauction.com/player-rankings, or just click on player rankings at the top. You can take a look at Slim's rankings, Blister's rankings. Mine are coming up, and then we have it ranked overall on consensus and average. I just want to take a look at a couple of discrepancies, I guess, shall we say. Slim, you have Adrian Peterson at 5. Blister, you have AP as a low-end RB1. Blister, talk to us about AP.
I love AP. I just worry about that St. Louis defense at home. I just think that, they're a good defense, really good defense. I think they're going to try to take AP out of the game. Now, that sounds easier said than done because every team tries to take AP out of the game, and he's still a fantasy stud. But that worries me a bit, and that's why I ranked him a little bit lower. I just think some of the guys in front of him have, and I still think he'll have a pretty good week. I just think the guys that I have ranked higher than him have a better potential to break loose a little more often and potentially put up more fantasy points. Obviously, that's why they're ranked like that.
I guess that's
that's how that ranking stuff works. Well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Okay, so I just am looking down the list here. CJ Spiller, guys, is very different. Slim, you have him as a solid RB2, and Blister, Slim, you have him at 16, and Blister, you have him as an RB3 at 30. So talk to me, Slim, about CJ and why you have him as a solid RB2 this week.
Well, because the Bears were historically bad last year. I know they added some pieces to try and improve. I just need to see it. I don't know if they have the athletes that can keep up with Spiller, and Spiller's not banged up yet. It could happen next week, it could happen this week, but right now he's okay. So I think he can be explosive. We know that the Bills are going to run the shit out of the ball. That's what they do, right? So he should get tons of touches, and I think he's capable of making a couple big plays here and there. And it's to me that he's easily an RB2 this week.
All right, Blister. I just we'll talk about someone else. I want to get you to talk about him. We move down to Darren Sproles. Slim has him outside of RB3 even, so barely a flex ranked at 43 overall. Blister, you have him at 32, so just at the back end of that RB3, possibly a flex type position. Talk to us about Darren Sproles.
Well, we talked a bit about Philadelphia playing Jacksonville earlier, and I think when they game plan, if the defense comes to play, they're going to be trying to take out LeSean McCoy and make Nick Foles do something he's not ready to do. And if that's the case, I think he might have to dump the ball off more to Darren Sproles. And, that's not going to be the primary objective of the defense, is to stop Darren Sproles. I think he might be a kind of a fallout option for him. So I think, he's a guy. What will be really interesting this weekend is to see just exactly how they do use Darren Sproles and what his fantasy value might be, week in and week out. I think his numbers had been going down for the last few years in New Orleans, but I just think in this offense, and there's not a ton of competition in the running back field there. LeSean McCoy is going to get a majority of the touches and looks, but Sproles is a guy that, when he gets the ball, is pretty explosive as well. So I just think that he's got an opportunity to put up some points there. He won't get nearly the touches, but when he does, I think he'll be relevant, fantasy relevant for sure.
Okay, so let's switch over to wide receivers, guys. I was just taking a look here at some guys that were probably drafted as wide receiver 2s that you guys have ranked up in the wide receiver 1 category. Let's take a look first at Michael Crabtree. Slim, you have him at 10 right now. Blister, you have him at 7. Slim, what do you like about Crabtree? Is there anything else besides the bad Dallas defense?
Not much. No, okay. Not really, actually. I think they're going to pass a significant amount, and Crabtree's the main beneficiary in that offense as far as passing goes.
All right, and Blister, just taking a look at Andre Johnson then. Slim has him all the way up at 6, so a real solid wide receiver 1. You have him at the back end of the wide receiver 1 category at 11. Talk to us a little bit about Andre Johnson.
Well, they're on the road. One thing Fitzpatrick will do is he does tend to look he'll either dump it off or he'll look for his number one receiver, which bodes well for Andre Johnson. That's why I was scared off of DeAndre Hopkins a bit this year. But I think that it might be a tough go for them. Basically the biggest thing is Fitzpatrick at quarterback. Philadelphia, their defense is. Wait a minute, I'm on the wrong team. Sorry, Washington. Yeah. Never mind. And they're on home. I had that all mixed up. Sorry about that because I just said they were on the road before that. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me is just Fitzpatrick. How is he going to move this offense? How effective can he be? How will that limit Andre Johnson? I still think he's the guy that, as long as things look okay, he's still a valuable player, especially in a PPR format. But I'm just a little hesitant this week on him. I want to see how this unfolds this weekend.
Well, Blister, I want to stay with you just as we work down on our consensus rankings of number 12 overall. Looking at Colston, Slim has him ranked at 18. You have him ranked all the way up at number 5. Talk to us why you're so high on Colston this week.
I think that he's underrated, and I think his stats against Atlanta the last couple of games, I mean, he's went for, I think he's had 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games against him or something along that line. He's been always getting 70, 90, 100 yards, 6, 7, 8 catches. He does quite well against them. I think Drew Brees obviously has Jimmy Graham, but I think his number one receiving option for wide receivers will be Colston after perhaps Graham. I think they're going to see the majority of the looks. Steele is banged up. Cooks is a rookie. I think he's going to be good. I just think going into this season, apparently Colston feels healthier than he has felt in the last couple of years. I just expect him to kind of be one of those guys that kind of people overlooked a bit on draft day. This game might leave him wishing they had to put that extra dollar bid in on him.
Right. Okay. And then I just want to keep moving along here. Some guys that I think weren't necessarily drafted to be where we have them ranked this week, as I just moved that out of the way now, and I got to find it again here. Let's take a look at Vincent Jackson, VJack Slim. We have him overall, like the average between the two of you is at 18. You have him all the way up at 12, so he's the back end of the wide receiver 1. Why the love for VJax this week?
Well, I think somebody's got to catch the ball for Tampa, and I mean, to me, Carolina, when I look at their defense, the one weak spot they really have is in the secondary. And VJax is just a big physical guy that just matches up really well against that Carolina secondary. And I like I said, somebody's got to move the ball through the air for Tampa Bay, and I just think Vincent Jackson's the guy to do it. I mean, he's done it before; he can do it again, and I don't think they'll get tons on the ground, so they're going to have to throw it a little bit, I think.
Okay. Blister, let's take a look at Victor Cruz, who we have overall at 20. Slim has him up at 13. You have him all the way down at 25. Why the hate?
Eli Manning is probably the number one reason. They haven't looked great so far in the preseason, and I just don't know that they can get it going this week. You can't read too much into the preseason. We know that, but then again, you have to take some stuff away from it. They're going on the road to Detroit, playing indoors. I just don't see. I see the Detroit defense maybe being a nice sleeper pick this week because the way that Eli's been playing, you could probably stream that defense this week and you might be pretty successful. But I just can't see Eli being efficient enough to make Cruz wide receiver 1 this week. I just don't see it happening.
All right, and then the last one I want to talk to about in the wide receiver category, Anquan Bolden, Slim. Overall, he's at 29 for us right now. You have him all the way down at 38. You hate the Dallas defense, but you're not loving Bolden.
Well, I just already said Crabtree's, I think he'll have a big game. I like Vernon Davis a little bit this week. I like Frank Gore a lot. I just think there's not going to be enough balls necessarily going around. There doesn't have to be maybe against this Cowboys defense. And I think Frank Gore will have a solid game. I think Carlos Hyde will have a solid game. So, I mean, I don't know if that they have to throw the ball, 30 times to beat the Cowboys. And if they don't do that, then I don't necessarily think there's tons of opportunity for everybody in this offense. So somebody's going to, and I think you'll see that a lot with the Niners this year, somebody will have a good week probably most weeks, and whereas a lot of other guys will struggle. And I just think this is the week that Bolden can struggle.
So Blister, you're a little bit higher on him. You have him at 20 right now, so a solid wide receiver 2 play.
I think one of the things that concerns me a little bit is Crabtree had a calf injury and didn't practice today, so I don't know how healthy he is going to be come the weekend. I mean, if they're blowing the Cowboys out or something, maybe Crabtree doesn't see as many snaps. Maybe they give him a bit of a rest and Bolden plays a little bit more. I could see that if Crabtree is 100% good to go, I could see him getting 2 touchdowns and potentially maybe Bolden none. But if not, I could see them each getting maybe 1 and throw Vernon Davis 1 as well. So I just think that they could put 7 TDs on the board. Of course, a few are going to be ran in by Gore and Cap and maybe even a Carlos Hyde one, but I think they're going to put up some numbers to make him relevant. Okay,
let's move into the tight end position, guys. A couple of names I want to take a look at here. Let's take a look at Jordan Cameron. Overall, we have him at number 7. Slim, you have him at 4. Blister has him at 11. Why so much love for Cameron, Slim?
Just a volume thing. I think I hate the receivers in Cleveland, and I think if Hoyer knows what's good for him, he's got to look for somebody who's reliable if he wants to hang on to the starting job, and I think Cameron's the best he's got. So I really think that Jordan Cameron's going to get a lot of looks. Whether they're accurately thrown passes or not remains to be seen, but I think the targets should be there.
All right, and another big discrepancy here. Slim, you've got Pitta way up at 6. Blister, you have him basically unplayable at 20. Talk to us about Pitta this week.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, again, I think that they have. I just think that the Cincinnati D is going to be tough on him this week. I do like Dennis Pitta this year. I have him on quite a few teams, but I just think he's going up against a really tough defense, and so I think. Torrey Smith is going to be a deep threat. Steve Smith, we'll see what he does, senior. And, Dennis Pitta is probably going to be, I would say right now, Dennis Pitta would be the second guy that Joe's want to look to. But I think that Cincinnati, being a big divisional opponent, big game like that, is going to try to shut him down and take him out of that. So I just think that that's the biggest thing. Maybe he gets 6 or 7 catches, but maybe they only go for 40 yards, 50 yards or something, doesn't find the end zone. So I think it's going to be tough on him.
Okay. So at the kicker position, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We're not going to go through your player rankings at kicker, even though there's about 6 guys on that roster that are on that ranking sheet that I had not heard of until this week after the 53-man cuts. There's a lot of new names out there.
I noticed you dropped Shane Graham and they picked him back up, hey?
Oh, good.
Saints picked him back up. You dropped him and grabbed Sean Swisham.
Yeah.
In one of your teams?
Yeah,
Graham. They signed him again today, so he's kicking for them.
So is that a negotiation tactic? You cut a kicker, you have no kickers, and then you pick the same guy back up?
They had too many teams to manage. They realized, holy man, I'm short a kicker on this one fantasy team. I'm going to pick him back up.
Anyways, guys, I'm going to... Sorry, go.
Who do we play? Cardiac Kids this
week? No
you better get a kicker too, Ethan. Don't make it too easy on us. All excuses.
We're going to do Killing in the Name of Fantasy Football next week, guys. So think of something, or make a mental note of something while you're watching football here in week 1. And be ready for Killing in the Name of. We're going to do Defend Your Rankings next week when we go through the rankings as well. So, I guess we did a little bit of that here, but it was not so much head-to-head. And we will do He's the Man next week as well. So get that ready. I guess after week 1, you get a little better feel for what's going on out there. So I guess... Sorry,
do our rankings. We'll do our rankings a little bit earlier.
A little bit earlier too. Crazy as 3 teachers heading back to work this week. Week 1's usually a little hectic for us. Anyways, I just again before we sign off here, guys, just wanted to thank all of our listeners and followers out there for the amazing preseason. We had numbers that we weren't projecting from last year that we got this year. We were talking just before we came on the air. There was 50,000 downloads of the podcast this month. 400,000 views of the web page of different web pages on our website. And it's the listener questions and the comments about all the positive stuff that they're hearing from the podcast, from the draft kit, from the website. It's all those things that are just making this a lot of fun for the three of us as we move forward here. And don't worry, we've got some big plans coming up for next preseason, and hopefully all of you that are with us right now stay with us, because we've got a lot of good things heading up as the auction version of drafting just gets bigger and better. Blister, the snake draft we're looking at tomorrow night at Boston Pizza, as I'm explaining to him about there being maybe some rookies that have never drafted before. I mean, I literally described to him that you could just take the top 300 list and say, all right, we're on pick 76. Oh, but guy ranked 72 still there. Guess I'll pick him.
Yeah.
And just that's how easy it would be. So
I have a feeling it's not going to go too smooth.
No, that's all right. First time, it's okay.
Well, did he take any of that advice he gave him? Like, you should do this.
I think so. I think he'll be working frantically tonight and tomorrow to make sure it's all ready to go. But anyways, just to finish off, thanks to everybody for all the follows, all the website views, all the podcast downloads. Don't be afraid, so many of you have been listening to the podcast, to give us some rankings on iTunes, subscribe to us so you don't miss anything. We're going to be with you all season long through, every week, bringing you player rankings and waiver wire moves and matchups and that type of thing. We'll talk some daily this particular season as well, week by week. So if you're looking to play some daily, head on over to fantasysportsforyou.com, click on our banner and go through the process there. Get yourself that free match, and away we go. So, Slim, I was going to say, well, I won't see you at the school, and may not even see you, I don't know when I'm going to see you. Never. Just never, because I'm not at the big house anymore. Somebody going to come tomorrow night to BP for the draft?
No, probably not. We'll see, though.
All right.
Yeah, I know. I got...
I know, you got responsibilities.
Crap going on, obviously.
Don't worry, Blister and I both know how it goes.
Yeah. When my kids go to school, maybe it'll be better.
Yeah. Well, and just remember that Blister has a short memory for how this goes. So when he's in your office hanging over your desk, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? And you're like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm doing athletic director work, remember? It's a lot of, hey, what are you doing? Hey. You want to talk fantasy football? Hey. He has a short memory for the amount of work it was. So just give him a little flick, and then he'll run away.
I'm locking him out anyway. You can't. I'm in Z's old class this
semester.
So,
wow, there you go.
So that's all I got all day. He'd walk by. Oh, hey Z. Oh, that's not Z. Sorry. I guess my sweat stains on my shirt.
Just stick him down in that cubby, in that crawl space. Just shove him down there.
I had fun with that today. Z! Sorry, somebody look just like Z.
All right, well, anyways, Blister, I guess we'll see.
Zip-up sweater with no shirt underneath.
You need the buffer. If Zoobs is listening, you need the buffer.
Do you ever?
Yeah. So anyways, Blister, I guess I'll see you tomorrow night at Boston Pizza. And for the rest of you, I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies.